Hey guys, Anthony here with Geek Domination, and again, I'm another special guest. It's Ransom.
Hello.
He's my brother, if you didn't understand that yet. Now you know.
Get it.
Get it. Get with it. So, movie we have here for you today. This isn't going to be our standard review, by the way. This is going to be an in-depth analysis and spoilers, because, as I think most of you know by now, from what I have said, and I'm sure what Ransom will say, Spectre wasn't a good movie. No, not at all. Not at all. And we need to describe why. Because, honestly, the first 10 minutes of this film started off pretty nicely,
Yeah,
I think.
You felt that aftermath of kind of Skyfall. You felt the climax from Skyfall into this, and you're really excited. But it did not stay like that.
And it's so funny, too, that Ransom mentions this, because one of the things that happens is, I like to think that first 10 minutes, and like I said, if you're still here and you haven't seen the movie, leave now. You gotta either not see it, which means you don't care, or go see it, and then you come back here and we'll tell you why it sucks, if you don't already know. And we can talk about it. It's good to have a discussion with a movie like this. But honestly, that first 10 minutes when they're in Spain, were really cool. I really dug it.
Really cool.
I like the bongos and the drums and everything. It's getting rhythmic. It's getting intense. And the chase scene was good. The helicopter scene was cool. That's a great action set piece.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And it's funny that he mentioned the fallout of the movies before, because as we're going through the opening, credit crawl and introduction scene with the Sam Smith song, which, by the way, isn't completely bad as I thought, but man, the lyrics, if you really pay attention to them, are really dumb.
It doesn't really make sense with a James Bond movie.
Yeah, it's not a James Bond sounding at me at all, to me at all. At least in terms of lyrics. There was some, nice little tropes in there that he did, but not much, honestly. Nowhere near Adele's Skyfall.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking amazing song right there. But that, again, is part of the problem, because as I'm getting back to that point is, it shows you photo after photo of the people that James has had a relation with in this film series since Casino Royale. And that to me was really good. I was getting excited. I was getting the shivers actually a little bit.
I was really excited about that, because you see the villains that he's fought and the women he's been with, and so you thought this was going to be...
Dame Judi Dench was included, by the way.
Yes.
Important.
Yes. And you thought that this movie was going to have just a whole wrap-up of that. A really... everything that he has done will impact this very moment.
Yeah, that's what this scene... That's what this opening crawl is trying to tell you. Yeah. And then, as soon as it goes to this, that's when I started getting my worries, and it just proves true as the movie goes further. When that scene comes on of this Bond girl getting, tentacle massage,
octopus.
I'm just it's not only is an octopus slimy and gross, but on the screen, it's slimy and gross looking to me.
It's everywhere.
I was getting disturbed.
Yeah, it's everywhere. It's on a gun that's being shot off. There's ink that you see all over the screen.
But, it's the opening crawl, so it's okay, whatever. Maybe it's just a weird thing. Maybe the octopus will make sense. Maybe it's symbolism, like they had in the opening crawl for Skyfall. Really great symbolism. In fact, that whole opening crawl pretty much gives you cut for cut what happens later in the movie. Practically. It didn't happen here. The octopus has no meaning whatsoever except for that random-ass ring he finds. Which, by the way, let's get to that. The start of this movie is kind of whatever. To me, I mean, it's right after the opening crawl, you've got James Bond talking about James Bond stuff, and, with the current state of the spy game in Britain, yada, 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 and then it gets onto this surveillance kind of tropes, which reflects our society today. Everybody wants more transparency. And I was getting a little intrigued by it, but it was kind of dragging. And then James gets to that part where he's like, oh, and I got a message from M before she died. And I'm like, ooh, I'm getting excited. And the message was something akin to, this dude in this place, go find him.
Go kill him.
Yeah, go kill him, which is the dude he kills in the beginning. And then he learns from that there's this person named Mr. White. And here's my problem with it. And again, this is going to go into what we're talking about for this whole film. But then he says he knows Mr. White. Where the hell was he known for Mr. White? Maybe this is a connection that I missed, but I remember watching all of these films, and I don't remember a Mr. White ever in another film.
I mean, maybe in Quantum of Solace.
But that movie was shit.
Yeah, you just kind of skip over it. But, yeah, I really don't remember a Mr. White coming to occurrence. So you just feel like this character doesn't really mean anything, so you kind of just zone out for it.
Oh my god, yeah, it's total like zoning out, and I'm starting to get a little worried in the plot. So we now follow this vague reference to Mr. White, and this again is what we're hinting at. Vague references that don't make any sense. He finds Mr. White, and he finds this random ring thing on his finger, and whatever. This ring is supposed to mean something.
It doesn't really mean anything.
That's never explained.
All you know is that it's how it's like the Spectre ring, how to get into the meetings and such.
The one octopus, yeah.
Yeah, but you don't really understand why the octopus is even like a symbol for them. Like,
yeah, there's no reason whatsoever. And actually you don't really see the symbol anywhere else.
Yeah.
And apparently he gets into this meeting or whatever. You guys know, you remember the meeting. What was that about either?
No one knows. All we figure out is that there's someone, shadowy, and he's probably going to be the main villain. Also, Dave Bautista just silently kills a person, That's basically all you really get.
Dave Bautista gets to be menacing. and Christoph Waltz, who I was really excited for, gets this one really weird dialogue that is actually a little, like, suspenseful, because he's like, oh, hi, what's up? And then, like, oh, bye, James Bond pieces out of there, and whatever. And it's all okay. It's all okay to this point, but everything after Mr. White, he finds Mr. White, he gets the information from this dude, and then Mr. White says, like, that's what it sounds like in the movie.
You don't know what he's saying at all. Yeah, and it's just going back to the Christoph Waltz. As some of you might know, Christoph Waltz does play very odd, peculiar characters. This one is just way too much. He is very odd and peculiar, but in a really, really, really bad way.
Yeah, okay, we'll get to that. Finishing the scene with Mr. White, he has this weirdo, like, plain... wait a minute. Before we get to that, the introduction of the Bond girl. Okay, I want to get this name right for everyone here.
Ooh.
Okay, her name is... Okay, Leah Sado, and her name is Madeline. Being that you're here and you've watched the film, if you're still watching this, or you don't care, do you ever remember her name being Madeline anything? She's randomly described as a doctor.
Yeah, she's just like a mental doctor.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And James Bond goes to this weird-ass place in... I don't know, Switzerland on a mountain top, which, why are you going to put a mental hospital at the top of a random mountain? It's like the most secluded place ever.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense. Whatever. And then, after talking to her, he realizes that Dave Bautista's following him. And by the way, again, why you don't know that her name is Madeline, Dave Bautista... He is never introduced as Mr. Hinks. That's the actual character name. And you never hear his name throughout the entire film. Never mentioned.
The only thing he says is one line, and we will get to that.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah.
So Dave Bautista comes in, they have that plane, whatever, and it's so weird because, like, it's really just a bunch of, like, random cuts between James Bond and Dave Bautista, just like, James Bond's like,
yeah,
and then Dave Bautista's like, he's just all angry looking.
Bunch of just face poses.
Yeah, face poses. And he shoots at Bautista in the car, which at this point he's got Madeline, right? They're driving down the thing, and it's like, okay, I guess this is cool. And then he decides that the best idea to get the girl is by driving a plane into the cars. That's the best idea to get the girl out of the car. This is just getting lunacy. Roger Moore level shit here. And with, like, no, like, they keep trying to play this straight, too, which to me is just like, you can't at this point. This is getting ludicrous. Don't
understand how they could stay on set and
Yeah.
not be like,
Oh
well,
my god.
okay.
Yeah, I bet they were too. I bet they were just like, this is stupid. Whatever. So he eventually crashes the plane into David or Mr. Hink's car, and somehow Madeline has survived this. Naturally, this crash once the car hits the plane, and pulls her out and everything, and whatever stuff happens that doesn't make any sense. They go to the next cut is them going to this vague place that Mr. White mentioned, which is, or as you now understand, La American.
Yeah.
Like,
there's also no reason why it should be called La American.
Yeah,
like,
weirdest name for a place ever. It sounds like a person. And
yeah, we thought it was a person.
Yeah, we thought it
like it was some code name that we'd figure out.
You must meet La American.
Yeah. And then we end up finding out, oh, it's a place.
Yeah, for the longest time I thought they were saying the American. So when they're at the place, I'm really like confused as to why they're actually at the place. And then it's like, oh, it says somewhere La American. Oh, okay. And then Madeline, again, random ass girl that her name is never explained, decides to glean to us that this place is called La American, and that's when you're like, oh, now I guess I get it. And then apparently that's where her parents had visited when she was really young. Whatever.
We don't care. Like, it's that part was really not necessary, and there's many parts like that because they never go into it more. It's just they go on like a sidetrack, and that's all that you hear about it further.
Seriously, and they have this weird piece of dialogue when they're at this place. She says, like, if you get close to me, I'll kill you, I'll blow your head off, or something like that. And you're just like, whoa, bitch. Okay. He wasn't even, like, going, like, that smarmy on her yet, even. You know, he was probably... He said, like, a James Bond line, right? And then she totally went, like, balls to the wall, other side of it. And it's like, okay, clearly they don't get along, whatever. This is not going to be the Bond girl. That's what I'm starting to think.
Yeah.
Right? And he's trying to figure out why this place is so important, because this place is like a dilapidated place in the middle of like Tunisia, so like whatever. And then randomly he finds a switch, and then he's like, wait, or not a switch, but he like hears something on a wall. It's like a little hollow, so he decides to smash it in because he's James Bond Daniel Craig, and apparently, you know, smashing things in and busting through walls is what he does, right? So he does that to find this secret room with really, really old spy equipment. And then, like, he types some stuff on it, and, like, he just, like, looks around, and it's like, this doesn't make any sense. And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, hey, here's these coordinates to this random place that we don't know of. And then, because they're random coordinates, these could be anywhere, like, anything to anywhere at this point. We don't really have the knowledge of the connection yet. And really, I don't think we ever really get it. And they're like, oh yeah, this has got to be the place. So, whatever. They decide to take a train ride over to this place in the middle of Africa or whatnot. And during the train ride, they're all like talking, you know, whining and dining, and everything.
Getting to know one another.
Getting to know one another, which really isn't anything because I don't even remember the fucking conversation. I don't remember a goddamn thing. And, it's just a quality of the dialogue here that's the reason. Like, their faces look like they're into each other, but like I'm ready to have one night hot sex with you, and that's it. Like, no real romance.
Yeah.
None. Yeah.
You don't actually feel any emotional attachment whatsoever.
Yeah, she's like blank face doing like this Mr. Bond kind of thing, and he's like, I'll have sex with you, look. It's really smarmy, it's really weird.
Old,
oh my god,
James
really old
Bond.
Man hitting on a younger girl.
Yeah.
Kind of.
It's like the old James Bond feel where it's like, okay, that it's just gonna be like a one-time only thing and then it's gonna be done.
Right. Meanwhile, while they're on this train, we get a side that things in Britain aren't going too well, that the agency's going to be shut down because this other dude with this other company that I guess is going to make all of the spy agencies across the world transparent, which, by the way, no country in the world is going to agree to an overlord program for all nations of the world. There is no way I'm buying that, and they don't pitch it to you well in this.
Not at all.
Yeah, so I guess all of the governments are getting together voting that they're going to give up all of their trade secrets and work as one thing, and it's just like, nope, that's not going to happen. That's bullshit already. But it's happening in this story, so whatever. And this head of this agency, I don't even remember his name. Was C something, because of a joke that comes up later, which we'll talk about. His name's like C something, whatever. Doesn't matter. He and M don't like each other, and he's trying to be M's boss now because, M's agency, MI6, is getting shut down, essentially.
Yeah.
So, whatever, that's happening. There you go. There's that part. And then, back to the train. Yeah. So now, they've wined and dined, and they're very relaxed and at ease, and then all of a sudden they see Hinks.
Dave Bautista coming in to give some badassery.
I have to admit, when I saw this, when he's coming in through the room and he's like, okay, I'm going to kill you, I was actually getting really excited. I had a moment where I'm like, oh yes, they're going to bring it back. They're going to make me really enjoy the film again. And they have like some fist fighting and some like cool action, and I'm like, okay, I'm starting to get back into this. Dave Bautista is totally owning James Bond. And it's great. I'm loving it. And then randomly the girl decides, oh, by the way, after threatening to blow his head off in that one scene we mentioned before, she then says something akin to, like I don't like guns or whatever, for whatever reason. And James Bond keeps trying to teach her how to use a gun while they're whining and dining. Doesn't really happen. And then finally she decides that she can use a gun now on Dave Bautista and randomly shoots him a little bit, totally missing. I mean, at least that was the case. Yeah. It like hits him on like the side of his cheek or something. It hit him somewhere, but it wasn't very vital. And then he's getting mad, he's about to do something. And then this is where James Bond has one of those like James Bond moments where he gets like this little strap together on a couple of boxes, and then
here
what is
comes,
it? Did you get this right? Yeah. Did I get this right?
Here comes the one-liner of Dave Bautista when James Bond wraps like this heavyweight thing out and like throws it out of the train.
Yeah, he makes Ray Park in The Phantom Menace look good as Darth Maul.
Yeah. And this is Dave Bautista's one line when he sees that he's about to go out the train.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
Not even shit. I thought he actually said shit. And I was like, well, that was really lame, but I mean, I guess. And then when we were talking about it after the movie, Ransom reminded me that he actually said shoot. That's how stupid and corny it is. Like, PC it is.
Yeah.
Oh my god. It's just like...
And it's just, as a one-liner, the only line Dave Bautista has is, oh, shoot.
Oh, dialogue. Again, dialogue is key, in my opinion, when developing characters. Man, and again, dialogue, bad. Another example of it. So, the boxes go out the train, and he dies. End of Dave Bautista. End of the one thing that I was kind of looking forward to with the movie.
Yeah.
Well,
and you're like...
that and Blofeld, which we'll get to in a minute.
And then you're thinking, well, that was dumb, but hey, it can't get worse than that, right?
Wrong. So the train stops in the middle of God knows nowhere in Africa, right? And the dude that's like, I guess on the train's like, you guys really want to drop off here? And they're like, yeah, of course. So they drop off, just them and a couple bags, and they have this really awkward moment where they just like look at each other. Like the camera's just like, it's just quiet. Like I'm totally like, this is Quantum of Solace all over again.
Especially after they had just had a one-night stand. By the way,
oh yeah, I keep trying to forget this.
After Dave Bautista dies, she starts like going towards James Bond, and she said, "Oh, what are we gonna do now?" And James Bond looks at her. They cut to a one-night stand. It's Roger Moore ridiculousness that we really do not need in the Daniel Craig James Bond. Like,
it's so bad, guys.
We do not need this 80s throwback.
God. The girl that had just said that if he gets anywhere close to her, she's gonna blow off his brains. Then after a random moment where he defeated Mr. Hinks, is like, yeah, let's have sex now. That's like, romantic. That's wooing a woman. No. Bullshit.
If this was a Roger Moore film, maybe it could get away with it.
I guess that makes sense. But, you know,
this is Daniel Craig, who we've seen him with Vesper Lynn in Casino Royale.
Great romantic interest. Great Bond girl.
And
this is nowhere close to it. So, after that disappointing thing, that's where I'm like, so now we're stuck in this random dust bowl in the middle of nowhere, Quantum of Solace all over again, and this one random dude's like, oh, I'll take your bags for you, and in this really old-ass car or whatever, drives them to this location in the middle of a rock pile, essentially, to the super secret lair.
Well, the thing that's weird is this random guy is obviously coming to pick them up.
Like
no one else.
They know that they're here. So it's already like, okay, the villains know that they're here, whatever's going on now. And they're
just like all for it.
Oh yeah, they're all for it. And then, you know, this guy drops them off at the super secret lair. In the middle of Africa, rock pile.
Welcome to my evil lair.
Totally. In fact, the place really looks like it belongs in an Austin Power movie. Seriously. It's all it is like a bunch of like solar panels, a few random satellite dishes, and a big ass circle thing. It looks like it's just about to like rocket ship off into the moon. Essentially, it's like, okay, what are we doing right now? But whatever. They stop at the entrance, and this dude's like, oh, hello, can I welcome you in? You know, I have all of your things ready and laid out for you. It's like, okay, whatever. So they follow this dude along, and, you know, it's all bullshit. Random, really weird dialogue between this dude and James Bond as they're walking over there. And then, of course, they get to the part where they get in the middle of the super secret lair, and you see this information center. It's like a bunch of screens everywhere, you know, like a crazy hacker's like getaway.
Not even that, but they come upon this meteorite in this dark room.
Yeah, so you guys remember that meteorite. They get to that freaking meteorite, and it's in this dark room. Clearly James Bond and Madeline are extremely confused and puzzled by this. And we're like, okay, does this meteorite mean something, is what we're all thinking. Now, we saw this with Katie, by the way, my girlfriend, and one of Ransom's friends, Addison, and they were both as confused as we were. Katie, even at this point, is like, who is the villain of this movie? And she seriously thought that it might have been this meteorite for a second, when out of nowhere, you hear this ridiculous line from Christoph Waltz. You want to touch it?
You can touch it if you like.
You can touch it if you like. And you're just like,
honestly,
what?
At this point, I was not going to be surprised if they turned this into Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull.
Yeah, we're like, okay, are there aliens in this movie? And actually, at this point, I'm like, maybe that'll make it better.
Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe it'll glean some kind of super understanding, but whatever. This line happens, and I just started busting out laughing in the theater, and I know other people were too. It really was out of nowhere, and Christoph Waltz just comes up, just walking to the camera, and is like, "Hello, Bond," you know, just giving this stupid, smarmy little like Christoph Waltz acts, and he's overacting to the ninth degree, and this is his third line in the movie, and you can already feel it.
Yeah.
It's just like super cheesy.
You just feel the weight of a villain that you know you hate, not because he's so good at being a villain, but because you just want him to go away.
Seriously.
Forever.
So, this is when he takes you to that area that I was mentioning that's like a super secret, hacker's layout kind of thing, but with like 50 million people just like sitting in like shadows and like black, just like typing away at shit, and you're like, okay, this guy's about information. And that's when Blofeld says, "It's an information network. I am the orchestrator of all your pain." And you're like, okay, whatever, dude.
And then,
sure you are.
Yeah, and then he starts talking about how every single villain that that James Bond has met with was actually working for him, and it just doesn't make any sense.
No.
Especially because in Casino Royale, the whole entire thing was Mads Mikkelsen was just really bad at gambling and had a problem.
Well, he was working for some other dudes as well, but we found out who they were in Quantum of Solace, and then it was dealt with. It's like, okay, but he says all of this has been orchestrated by him through some grand design, whatever. He says a really bad line is like, "Did you come here to die?" And like James Bond says, it's all a matter of perspective. And it's like, that's the one quip that he comes up with through this entire movie that's like anywhere near decent. And I'm just like, okay, fine. So they come to this room, right? It's like a total white room. And, he, after being knocked unconscious, he wakes up in this chair. And Blofeld, at this point, he's just talking about their connection and their past. And apparently, he was the son of the gardener that took James Bond in when he was orphaned as a son. And because James Bond had stolen the attention from his daddy, he was really jealous and mad. And now he's been working through the shadows to kill James Bond because he has really bad daddy issues.
That's what we call a complex, kids.
Not only a complex, but the most ludicrous mentality for having any type of angst with anyone ever. Like, this is your reason for going after this dude for so long? Wow. Whiny, irrelevant, cliche. These are the things that I'm thinking through my head as he's explaining this long-winded tale of how his daddy didn't love him. And it's just like, wow, dude.
Also,
okay.
you just have this now torture sequence.
Yeah.
And it's just... It's the typical spy escape.
Yeah,
he
so
has
typical.
something behind his hands, his watch.
Yeah.
And for some reason, the Bond girl is able to just go up to him and talk to him.
Yeah, Blofeld's like, okay, you can say goodbye.
Like,
because as this is happening, he's like shutting down, like, he's trying to shut down his neural systems by like hitting things in his bed. It's like trying to give somebody, oh wow, what's that thing called? A lobotomy.
Yeah.
Thank you. A lobotomy, but he's doing it through these like needles that go through his head or whatever. And he's about to like deliver, in a sense, the final blow. He's about to wipe his memories, essentially. And this is when, Madeline and Bond are just like, "I love you. Don't forget me." And he's like, "I will never forget you," and stuff like that. And
you
you're like,
had a one-night stand.
You had a one-night stand. This is not romance. You guys don't love each other. This is BS. And I thought this was a game. And you'll find out in a minute that apparently it wasn't. They actually have feelings for each other, which is just bullshit. So anyway, she helps him escape through this distraction that they make. And Blofeld, in the meantime, is just all giddy as a school child about getting after James Bond in this Christoph Waltz. Oh, that's exciting! You know, with his hand movements and his that is so great kind of like style of delivering lines. It's getting ridiculous. Christoph Waltz, do something else now. You've done this for 4 movies now. 2 of them have been great, and now 2 of them have been bad. Big Eyes was terrible. Jesus, stop it. Stop it. Do something new. Do a different style of acting. Anyway, helps him escape. Whatever. They throw the watch, which ends up turning into a explosive device from Q. You know, it's the one thing that he got from Q. And they start running out of the facility and everything. They're making their grand escape. There's this chopper chilling. And that's when he's like shooting at people with an AK. I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool. Some more action. And he's getting up to the stairs, and that's when he turns around and he sees like the wave of enemies coming at him. And then this is where Ransom just like was like, what?
This is when it becomes a Michael Bay movie. Because they are on top of a hill, and they look at each other first, look back at the facility.
Oh, wait. That happens after this.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. He shoots a random pipe. And it, like, blows in somebody's face. You know, like, when, like, an exhaust goes off and it knocks some guy back, you're like, oh, that was clever. That was cool. Mm. So, and then James Bond and Madeline share this moment, and they're like, let's go home. You know, or whatever. And it's like, okay, that was cheesy. And then
they look back at the facility. Everything explodes!
From this one shot. Boom, 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 boom.
Michael Bay ejaculation. Explosion.
You get an explosion. You get an explosion. And it's just ridiculous. So I'm like, okay, that was dumb. And then the height of it all is then they look back at each other and they say, or James Bond says, it's not over. You just said you were practically over. You're like, you just alluded to the fact that it was over. Let's go home. We're done with this. Apparently it's not over. So whatever. I'm just like, okay, this movie has now gone to like shit level. That was the breaking point for me where I just like knew the film was going to be bad.
It wasn't even over yet.
So
somehow.
Yeah, and you guys know what happens. They go back to Britain. They have that nonsense happen with Q and everything. And it's like a... And they get to that scene where, you know, they're like talking and everything, and it's revealed that Blofeld stole Madeline, so James Bond is off trying to get Madeline again, and then Q is trying to take care of the dude that we were talking about earlier, right?
I was really confused about this. So, the character C trying to take over all of the spy world, right? Was he working for...
It seems that way. It's revealed vaguely that apparently Blofeld was going to control the world through C's or whatever's organization. And it was like, oh, okay, I guess.
And it didn't really make sense because he was going after Bond, not the entire world.
Like, whatever. Blofeld has like this bloated complex. Ridiculous. So anyway, like, Q's going after C and they have this exchange. It's like, now I'm going to reveal to everyone that, you know, you're full of shit. Now we know that you were trying to own the world and everything, C. And he's like, well, you know what M stands for. Moron. And then we're just getting into the fifth grader humor on the fucking playground here.
And then
I'm like,
M.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And then M comes in and he says, well, you know what C stands for.
And then that's when I'm like, and then this is what he says. Callous. What? What?
Like, what?
Okay.
That's great.
Man, it's just like, you guys know what he should have said right there. I won't even say it, because you know what would have been the better thing to say right there. You guys know it. So, at any rate, they have that exchange, and then they have this little tussle, and I can't even remember the full exchange of it because I'm like really checked out at this point. But then I guess like he fell over the edge, and he's like looks down, sees dead. Okay, whatever. Moving on. So meanwhile, James Bond gets to that area where Blofeld has supposedly orchestrated this final big thing. And by the way, there's only been like 10 hours since the facility blew up and Blofeld was stranded off in the middle of Africa desert.
Yeah.
So first off, I'm like, how did you design this complex, crazy, Joker-like Riddler contraption in like the time it takes not only to travel to London, but also to set it up? What? Whatever. So he goes through this labyrinth and everything, and he goes through this room where he sees all of the people that have either been his enemies or his loved ones, and the loss of each of them. So, like, the trials he's encountered at this point. And it would have been a great setup if it had meant something beforehand. All of the audience is so checked out at this point that it's just like, whatever. And to be honest, like, I'm just like, okay, whatever you want to do now. So he gets to the final area, and it's where Blofeld is, and he shoots at it, and it's a glass wall.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And you're like, okay, this doesn't make any sense. This is dumb. You're just starting to feel so lost in the whole entire thing. Then, Blofeld makes him choose a decision.
Yeah, it's like a Joker-like faux pas, essentially. Yeah. It's like, you can get out of the facility before it all blows up, and apparently, as I realized later, they're in the labyrinth of MI6, which is now abandoned, which was kind of cool, but they don't explain that until you actually get a panning out shot outwards. But you get to escape the facility, you have 10 minutes, or find your girl, your loved one, and rescue her.
I was really excited about this for a minute, because then I was thinking, finally, the Bond girl is going to die. We do not need any more of her. She can die, and he'll be like,
so we're getting
okay,
excited about her death. Like, that's how much we don't like her.
And he's gonna go after Blofeld and kill him, do whatever he needed to do.
But naturally, he decides to save the Bond girl. So he goes through the labyrinth, he's running, and there's the music's like, da 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 la la la. It's like random stuff going on. It's like, okay, fine, whatever. Gets to the area where Madeline's at, and she's in this room, like, strapped with 5 million amounts of C4 around her. And it's like, really? Again, going back to the setup idea of all of this, you're like,
there's no way someone could set up that many C4 in a building
oh my God.
in 10 hours.
Yeah, and it's just such overkill. It's like, you could have just planted one C4 on her. Instead, the entire wall is lined with these C4 detonators and what other nonsense. And she's strapped in this, like, Christmas present-looking contraption, essentially, for Bond. So, whatever, he helps her get out. And then they're about to, like, go out of that room when it's revealed that Blofeld has a helicopter out of nowhere. Helicopter starts shooting at them, but they run away. And it's counting down, and Q's like, what happened to Bond? Where's Bond? And he's like, I don't know, we lost him a little while ago. And then they see MI6 blow up, and it's like, oh no, James Bond's dead. Oh. And then, like, he then just all of a sudden makes it out in the tunnel area in this, like, boat, or whatever, patrol boat that he took. And he just, like, coasting on the waves, and it plays that badass music, and I'm like, okay, well, if this was a good movie, again, it would have been a cool thing. But I'm so checked out.
Tired of it all. And to make matters worse, he gets off the little speedboat that he's on, and he decides to shoot at the helicopter.
No, Ransom, remember, he's still on the speedboat as he does this.
Oh my God, that's right.
He's still on the damn speedboat as he decides to shoot at Blofeld's helicopter.
Yeah, and you're like, he's just gonna get away.
Yeah, Blofeld's gone, whatever. Sequelitis, and then
miracle shot.
Oh my
gets
God,
one of the
from
engines.
Distance, and gets one of the engines, and you're like, with one hand, mind you, And you're just like,
It's like, is this a 80s action movie? Are we actually in an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie? What is this?
yeah, we don't know anymore. It's so lost by the end of this film. So Blofeld's helicopter crashes. He's starting to crawl out of the wreckage, right? He's hurt. And James Bond meets up with him at this area on the bridge. And he's like, got his gun pointing out. He's looking at Blofeld. And Blofeld's like, do it! You know, like I kind of do it.
Darth Sidious.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah. He's like, just fucking do it. You know? And,
This is
like,
what
I don't
we
know
need,
why, but, like, James Bond just, like, looks at him and lowers his gun. And I'm just like...
When have
Really?
we ever seen a villain in a James Bond movie not die?
Well, and I realize this too. So there's a point in time where, like, Q earlier in the movie said, license to kill also means that you have to choose when not to. And I'm like,
It's like-
okay, whatever. But, like, dude, this dude has fucked up with everybody. You're
Yeah,
James Bond. He's killed all of your loved ones, apparently.
Yeah, if he has been the instrument of your entire, like, sadness,
Pain. The
you're-
author of all his
Yeah.
pain.
then you would expect a man to just be like, you know what,
Screw you.
I'm done with you.
Yeah.
But no, we
Lowers his gun.
see the first time a villain gets captured by the MI6,
Yeah.
and then this is when we actually see the metaphor of Daniel Craig
Oh my god.
playing Bond. He walks towards the James Bond girl.
And this is after he said, by the way, I've got better things to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
He walks towards her. She's all like, ooh, come get me.
Sexy time.
And he looks at his gun, throws it into the ocean.
Like
And
this.
that is Daniel Craig's metaphor for how he doesn't give a shit about playing James Bond anymore.
And throw it away. Ultimately, James Bond, Spectre, is a garbage movie. And like
It's-
James Bond does at the end of it, throw it the fuck away in the refuse
it away.
pile and pretend it didn't happen.
Please, like, for the love of God, or any kind of love that you have, do not see this movie. Because, I mean, it doesn't make sense at all. We see him get with a woman that we know he shouldn't have gotten with, because if there was one, it should have been Vesper Lynn.
And she's dead.
She did.
She died a long time ago, and that was fine.
He should have accepted the fact that he is James Bond, he is a spy, and that's his life.
Yeah.
You know?
Honestly, Skyfall was the proper way to end this entire series.
It
And
was.
the final ending, by the way, of this film is him driving off randomly with like the old Bond car, and it's just like
that old,
it's so
like,
cheesy.
Sean Connery kind of ending.
Yeah, and it's like again, like these are all James Bond like cliches that you would love if it was the right film to have them in.
Yeah.
And this is not it. There is no like it feels like the passion that was there in Skyfall was just
Yeah.
like
I mean,
down the toilet.
yeah, you really see in Skyfall the Daniel Craig James Bond that you want, because let's admit it, every James Bond has a different feel to it. And with Daniel Craig, we kind of get that dark, gritty, you know, all about doing his job and making things happen.
Yeah.
And in Skyfall, you see none of that.
Yeah, it's really bad. It's really dumb. Really cliche. Bad dialogue. Bad characters. Bad plot development. Nothing here is worth your time. So if, for some reason, you stayed on and you were just curious at what people thought of an extended look of Spectre, I think we've given you enough here to say don't go see the movie. If you're here because you've seen the film, let us know what you think, because I will be shocked if anyone really did enjoy this film. And this is what really shocks me. The critics apparently seem to be mixed on this, and really it should be all zeros. I really, like, maybe it's not a zero film. It's not as bad as Fantastic Four, but it ranks up there. Like,
It's
Terminator,
definitely worse than Quantum of Solace.
In my opinion, it's worse than
And
Quantum of Solace, too.
Let's be honest. Quantum of Solace?
No. Bad movie.
Yeah.
So, you know what? This is going to be one that you want to get yourself neuralized for, checked out for. Maybe you have a little bit of PTSD like I did. I know my coworkers at work were just like, wow, that was that bad. And I'm like, yeah.
Maybe even go up to that mental facility in Switzerland.
Oh, yeah. They'll tell you all about it. You know,
Yeah.
maybe you can meet Madeline, too.
Ooh.
Ouch. At any rate, this has been us telling you what we think on Spectre, our first in-depth analysis review. Stay tuned for more, and hopefully the next time we'll be talking about a better film. Till then, later, guys.
Out.
Howdy.